Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. You can check out new episodes of the show every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. If you missed an episode or want to get more information about the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com. If you love learning about business and how much the world's top CEOs are making, go listen to the Top Entrepreneurs podcast by Nathan Lecca. Just search on iTunes. It's a show with a bright orange logo. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Tami McQueen, Director of Marketing at SalesLoft. Tami, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kevin. Great to be here today.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show and kind of cover what SalesLoft is doing. But maybe before we kind of get into that, let's cover your background and kind of where you grew up.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born and raised in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Okay, sure.
And I moved to the United States almost 15 years ago. I played tennis in college.
Okay.
NCAA Division I in Kentucky.
Okay.
Went to Murray State University. I then went to grad school at Murray State as well. Moved around a little bit.
Okay.
Lived in Dallas, Texas for a few years. And finally found home in Atlanta about 6 years ago.
Very cool. So what made you move to America? Just tennis?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Received a full ride to play tennis in college.
Nice.
There's a point at which you realize that you're 5'2" and you're just not going to be competing with Serena Williams on the professional level. So you keep going and you're like, well, I should probably look at this career angle a little bit more seriously.
Sure.
And took that approach and had a wonderful experience still being able to play tennis at a really competitive level in college.
Cool.
And traveled the US, which was a
Really?
great experience. So just about the entire southeast, eastern seaboard, and a little bit out west as well. So great opportunity to live my passion, lifelong passion of playing tennis, growing up, day in and day out on the courts, and then of course focusing a little bit more on what I wanted to do in college.
Sure. So what did you take in college?
I set out almost knowing exactly what I wanted to do, which I think is pretty rare for
Totally
most
rare.
people.
Yeah, for sure.
And I went in with a marketing understanding. Of course, now the landscape is completely different to what it was then to what it is today. So for goodness sake, I might be dating it here, but social media isn't what it is now then. And it's really seen this emergence of marketing has been so interesting over the years in just my career alone.
Sure.
And so was in marketing with an emphasis in advertising, mass communication, so
Got you.
all encompassing all the channels, everything from digital to broadcast to print, traditional, and also radio.
Sure. So what got you kind of passionate about marketing, and why did you want to kind of pursue that in college?
I am very much a creative brain.
Okay.
I am very much on the creative brain. I'm not a big numbers person.
Got you.
Naturally, I have to work really hard on analyzing these numbers and counting where we go from there, and have always just had big ideas in advertising, really looking for innovation. What is not going on? What are people not doing? What is really going to spark engagement, get people excited about whether it's a brand, a company, or any ideas? And that was just fueling my passion from a young age. Like, how am I going to get people to pay attention?
Sure. No, that's awesome. Yeah. I think that's really cool. So at what age were you kind of started passionate about it? You mentioned kind of a young age, but like, was there like a defining moment where you're like, this is totally for me and this is where I want to go?
I don't know that there was a light bulb moment.
Okay.
This is marketing in college, but I remember I was probably about 10, 11, 12 years old, and the entrepreneur in me set out, and I got this little fold-out table put at the end of the driveway at home during vacation, summer vacation, and I went through the house rummaging for little odds and ends that I could place on this table to sell to passers-by.
Okay.
And I would find all these little nooks and crannies and little vintage goods. Heaven help my mom. She was probably still looking for some of the things that I got out of the cabinets, and put them on the table, and I would try and sell them. And then when I ran out of goods and my mom realized what I was doing, I got a little, what do you call those little beatbox thingamajiggies. What do you like? Where you play
like
music?
A stereo?
Like a stereo. Got
Okay,
a stereo
okay.
and set that up, and I would play music on a tape, like
Okay.
a cassette tape for
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
and they had to pay to listen to a song, and they could dance, like passing on the road.
Really?
Like I'm gonna make money somehow, and I've got to get creative with this. And I think it's just all sorts of creative ideas and the entrepreneur in me and finding ways to do that.
Okay, very cool. That's exciting. It's interesting.
Let's throw this off.
I love people's kind of stories of kind of how they started and kind
Yeah.
of got passionate about this stuff and kind of the stuff they tried as a child.
Yeah,
you know?
I remember also having, we could tie this to startup life, I think.
Of course.
I really loved animals, and I worked at a vet across the road during my summer, and then I thought, well, I've got to capitalize on this. I've got to start a business.
Sure.
So I started a business where I think I called it Pro Pooch People. Got one of my best friends, and we were going to be a grooming service for dogs.
Okay.
And we had zero tools, zero experience. We had no idea. We just wanted to cuddle with these dogs, and I think we were just having a good time. And the company didn't do too well.
Whatever, it's all good. So you learn more from the failures, right?
Exactly.
No, I think that's very cool. So after you graduated college, what did you end up doing?
I went to work for a company or corporate where started off with email marketing.
Okay,
Really.
okay.
And email marketing was not so much the automation you see today, but
Sure.
the simple community newsletters,
Sure.
driving leads from people signing up for a newsletter.
Got you. Okay.
Very standard templates, no motion of videos, or it was a YouTube embedded file.
Got you.
But very
Okay.
simple, very manual process for entering contact information.
Sure. No, I think that's awesome. So where did you go to after that?
After that, I moved to Atlanta,
Okay.
and I like to
Why'd
look
you move to Atlanta? Just
for
sorry
a
to cut you
job
off.
opportunity, and
Okay.
I really liked the feel of Atlanta. For some reason, it feels a lot like Johannesburg to me.
Okay. Why? Out of curiosity.
The weather, I really like the different seasons.
Got
Dallas
you.
doesn't necessarily have those seasons. Enjoy the hospitality.
Sure.
And there is quite a huge South African community in Atlanta.
Okay, I didn't know that. Interesting.
And love the vibe, love the culture. People are friendly, a lot of opportunity. And I really had no intention of staying in the US post 4 years in college.
Really?
And I like to think it was a series of serendipitous opportunities that happened to come to me, or I chased them, I would
Okay.
say.
Little of both,
and
maybe?
a little bit of both, I would say. Good things come to those who hustle, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. 100% agree.
And Atlanta was a great opportunity. I joined the Westminster Schools and started their social media, wrote for their alumni magazine, and did a lot of their marketing from a change. It was really the emergence of the digital era in marketing, especially for the education sector, which is
Gotcha.
typically a few years behind
For sure.
emerging B2B, B2C agencies, companies. And it was right on the cusp of that introducing more of a digital feel. So not necessarily your printed brochures, the
Got you.
traditional fold out. Again, that appeals to their audience, but we were looking at bringing on social media, communicating with parents through social, because that's where their kids are. So we
Sure.
absolutely needed to do that. So really built that out. Built out their digital platforms, their blog, their weekly newsletter, which felt to have a little bit more of a blog feel
Gotcha.
to it. From there, I then went to an executive recruiting firm and did their corporate marketing.
Okay.
And that was a very interesting learning experience for me because it was a B2C / B2B blend of marketing,
interesting.
focusing on the clients as well as the candidates.
Sure.
Very,
okay.
very interesting approach for me. Learned a lot from there. Really started to dive a little bit more into metrics and analytics.
Got you.
There, I worked a lot on the content creation.
Got you.
Built out their entire content process. Started building the marketing stack technology stack of tools and different products that we did use to facilitate the marketing channels from all different angles. And then from there, during my time there, I really found the excitement of the technology ecosystem in Atlanta.
Sure.
And started ingraining myself in the startup world, in the technology scene. And it was this enormous amount of energy that I absolutely was attracted to and could not draw myself away. So started going to a lot of different events in the city.
Okay.
Atlanta Tech Village was just dusting off the cobwebs at that point.
Right.
And had gone to ATDC's events in Midtown and made some connections and just started appearing everywhere. I think it was just so interesting to me to learn this different environments. And a few months later, Carl Porter, CEO of SalesLoft, had reached out about joining the team in a marketing capacity. He is the ultimate marketing CEO. If you've ever met one, there's really and truly no one better.
That's awesome.
And looked at the opportunity to grow the SalesLoft marketing team and build upon that. And really and truly just scale the team. I had absolutely no idea what I was getting into. I still am looking for that manual on a day-to-day basis.
I think we all are at a startup.
And I think I remember the first time I walked into the village, I had come from a very corporate background and was absolutely aghast at people riding around on scooters. I was like, what in the world is this? How are you not concentrating? I can't believe this. And I laugh at that now because I'll hop on the scooter every now and then and go down the road or whatnot. But such an incredible opportunity in the path to get to startup world today.
Sure. So what exactly do you do at SalesLoft? And then, or maybe let's cover actually what does SalesLoft do, and then we'll cover what you do at SalesLoft.
Yeah, SalesLoft is a platform that is the easiest way to convert prospects into qualified appointments and demos. Okay,
so maybe I get that we're not at a computer and people aren't, when they're listening to this, but kind of walk me through the process. So how does it kind of work? So I sign up, then what do I do?
You sign up, and what you do, it integrates phone, email, and social components for you to reach out to your prospects to set these appointments. It's personalization at scale.
Okay.
And so you're able to reach out via phone, voicemail drops. You can reach them through email cadences. So you'd go in, set up your cadence of a series of phone calls, voicemails, email touches, social drips, to be able to get to that decision maker to set that appointment. And our sales development team, we know that sales development is the biggest innovation to happen to the sales organization in the past 10 years.
Okay, interesting. Why would you say that?
What we've really focused on at SalesLoft is the art and the science of specialization. Is taking your sales organization and specializing it into your sales development team, which their sole focus is setting these appointments, finding the right people, reaching out to them, gaining that interest, and then passing them over to the sales team, who we typically in sales terms would call it the closers. They would go in there, have those warm introductions, and then close the deal.
Got you. So how do you go about finding the people to reach out to at these companies?
In terms of like us selling to them, or?
Well, I guess like using the tool.
Using the tool. So what we do is we have just launched the Sales Development Cloud, which includes data integration partners, and they facilitate finding the right contact information for your ideal target audience that then integrates with SalesLoft, the platform. So you're able to find the right people and reach out to them at the right timing. Analytics. The platform really is the only workspace for your sales development team.
Got you. Okay, so what types of companies and businesses are using the platform?
It's a great question. we are looking at B2B companies, high tech, sales teams of 5 or more.
Okay.
And I'll give you just from a different perspective.
Sure.
We've just come out of Rainmaker, our annual sales development conference.
Yeah,
and
it was awesome. I had a lot of good fun.
Awesome.
So
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yes. And we have really partnered with a lot of nonprofits as well.
Okay,
which is a really interesting perspective to look at from a high-powered B2B platform. And we're working with the Kula Project and TechBridge. And what they are doing is using the platform to set appointments for fundraising, to meet with potential donors for fundraising efforts.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. And then you said kind of startups, but what other kind of companies are using the platform as well outside of the non-profit
everywhere
space?
From startups to nonprofits to enterprise level.
Okay.
Your SMB is the real sweet spot over there. But there's this notion of account-based sales development. It's going after the accounts, and then all the way from SMB to your enterprise level.
Got you. Okay. So what's the cost for somebody to get started?
It's a great question.
Or does it depend on kind of what angle I'm looking to take with that?
Yeah, obviously it's going to depend on your team size, what you're looking to deliver. Okay. And so we do have different price points on the website that we have, SalesLoft.com/pricing.
Okay.
Get a free trial.
No, that's good to know. So I'm curious then, what have you kind of seen companies use SalesLoft for to be really successful at? I get to close deals and kind of find new clients and whatnot, but is there anything that you've seen happen that maybe kind of surprised you with how people are using the product? Not really.
It's definitely. We are bombarded with email messages day in and day out. You get phone calls from random numbers that you aren't going to answer.
Sure.
And you get emails that you hardly click and you're going to just auto-archive them. If I see an email, I'm going to open it and it comes from an email address that has hieroglyphics, 6 numbers, 3 letters, and I don't even know where that comes from. They have no idea what I do, or they've briefly scanned my LinkedIn profile, if I'm lucky enough to do that.
Sure.
Or they ask me if I'm the right person to go to, and then they follow up with, I'm just following up. There is zero personalization.
Totally.
Or there's a stock image at the top and text for days days and multiple hyperlinks, multiple bullet points, and I'm just not engaged.
Sure.
And what we're really focusing on is that level of personalization while automating the workflow process.
Gotcha.
So you're able to work in such a manner that you're reaching a person, reaching at their level that extends far beyond just their title and where they work.
Gotcha.
But hey, Kevin, I know you went to Murray State University, you played tennis. Well, guess what? I played at so-and-so. We probably played the same year.
Gotcha.
Have that introduction, that's that personalization that's going to get that reaction from someone. And I really think this is what's so unique to a marketing automation platform that's just spam blasting people, but it's taking those extra few minutes to customize and do it at scale.
No, I think that's super important. And that's kind of what, when I first heard about you guys and what you guys were doing, that's kind of what appealed to me about what you guys are doing. You have a kind of a different angle. And like you just said, that you're making it more personal, because I get those essay long emails and
hundreds.
I don't even read them. Like,
No.
It's just a waste of people's time. Like, there might be something good in there. Don't even know. Couldn't
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. So, director of marketing, I get that most people have a general idea of what that is, but what does that mean to you, and what do you do at SalesLoft?
That's a great question, Kevin. Let me walk you through how my role has evolved during the 2 years at SalesLoft. And in startup world, 2 years is an eternity.
Totally.
And I think what's very interesting from the startup perspective is what you see from the outside is not what is happening on the inside. And
Totally.
It sounds so glamorous, and you hear there and everywhere, and it's a lot of hustle and grind every day. And I took the role at SalesLoft was I knew I needed to level up in my career and get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Totally.
And no kidding, I walk in every day, I'm like, whoa, this feels a little uncomfortable again today.
Totally.
And I love it. I absolutely thrive on that. It's not a 9 to 5, and nor could I ever find myself in a role that is a 9 to 5, but the culture is very important to me. And when I joined, very, very early days at SalesLoft, less than 20 employees, and we have absolutely focused on our core values and the culture of growing the team, and that is really apparent in the hiring process as well. And I joined, and there was just so many moving pieces. If anyone is in marketing, they know that you could do anything from social media to emails to Google AdWords to SEO, you can do content creation. There is a wealth of different marketing initiatives that are driving an organization.
Totally.
And you can't have one without the other, so they all feed into your marketing mix. And I think this is very overwhelming when you start. What do you do? And it was a great learning experience for me because I've always been with an established brand.
Got you.
And with that is more of a branding approach, more of your public relations.
Sure.
And coming into a startup, everything is tied to revenue. So it's very much a lead to revenue model.
Okay.
How are you going to bring in the leads and how are you going to tie that to revenue?
Got you.
And so the huge focus early on was bringing in inbound leads, inbound conversions, and measuring your marketing qualified leads.
Okay, so do you have any tips on how to kind of do that for the early startups listening?
Early startups are saying content is a huge, huge winner in the world, is really to establish yourself as the authority in your industry.
Okay, so when you say content, do you mean blogs, video, both?
Blogs, video is a huge emergence in the marketing scene. It's really engaging, short snippets. We are hugely focused on video, and it's that consistency of content. Yes, you can create it, and this was one of the things that we did early on is we were creating a lot of content, but we weren't distributing it well. It's almost like if a tree falls over and no one's in the forest to hear it, does it actually fall over? Well, if we're creating all this great content and we're not sharing it to our audience, what's the point of it?
Sure.
And so we really focused our attention on moving toward creating great content that changed the lives of people. And our focus right from the beginning was creating content that wasn't to sell anything. It was not self-serving whatsoever, but to really service the needs of our audience. What could they do? What would be helpful to them? And what can they learn from it? And that in turn established us as the authority in sales development.
I think that's really good advice, right? Because when you're not, like, you're promoting your brand, but you're producing good content, which indirectly promotes the brand. And then some of the people that like that content end up becoming customers at some point.
Absolutely. And the content facilitates and fuels the process for what you need. And so that in turn drives the product. And throughout the 2 years that I've been at SalesLoft, we've really held onto that notion of sales development and being the authority in the industry and serving our customers, serving our prospects and our audience for what will make them better sales development reps, what would make their sales organization even stronger. And that has really been important for the content creation and laying the foundation of a consistent flow and production of blogs, videos, your social streams. Because if you're producing a blog, maybe once a week, maybe you're going to miss it another week, people are going to drop off and they're just not going to be engaged. So it's that consistency, is setting the foundation first. And just because there are all these different channels doesn't mean you have to be there. Early on, we weren't doing email because there were 3 of us on the team. And it's finding what is working and building upon that. You don't have to do all of the things right away.
100% agree with you. I think that's actually really good advice because everybody thinks that they need to be everywhere, and it's really hard to be everywhere, and it's also extremely hard to be everywhere and put out content that's relevant to each one of those different platforms.
100% agreed. And it's really hard to be all of the places and produce it at such a high level as well. Sure, you can, but you're going to be mediocre. Do things really, really well. Own that space, own the blog, and absolutely crush it, and then move on and add in things.
Got you.
Don't just spread yourself so thin that you're doing mediocre in everything. It's the same with social channels. There's so much out there right now, from Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat. Well, do you necessarily have to be all of the places? And it's finding what works, where your audience is. They might not be on Snapchat. You might not have to be there.
Yeah. No, that's really good advice. And I've kind of had that, realization as well when I'm promoting the show is, well, yeah, like some channels work really well, others don't. And the ones that don't work, I just stop promoting or put stuff on there.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe I'll go back to them someday, maybe not.
Maybe,
who knows,
exactly,
right?
yes.
So I think that's really good advice. So, okay, so we're kind of covering early on kind of startups. What happens now that you guys have been around, you're an established brand, you have customers and that stuff? Like, what kind of stuff are you doing now, and have you seen over, the full 2 years that you're now kind of maybe doing now that you weren't doing early on?
Yes, definitely. We have learned a lot, and we still have a lot more to learn.
Sure, but I would say everybody has that,
Everyone
right?
does. Everyone does. We have learning curves, and I think being an established brand is we've elevated ourselves to a level where people expect us to produce really solid content. So you can't drop the ball on that. You have this level of expectation where you're in a pretty unsexy industry. SaaS isn't the most sexy industry to be in when it comes to content production.
Sure.
So it's finding innovative ways to wedge yourself between all the noise and clutter out there, because we are overstimulated with information.
Totally.
And no longer are we pushing information to people all the time. They get to pick and choose what they want.
Totally.
So
That's a good way of putting it.
So much harder for people to consume your information. You can't push anymore. They have to select it. And how do you innovate in a way that your content, your material is standing out there and people come and hand select it off the shelf? Because that's what they're doing.
Sure.
And if you think of it in that way and not just shove information down people's throats, whether you're selling or not, you are absolutely going to stand out in the market. And so having a little bit more of an established brand, with that also comes competition.
Totally.
And you are not only putting out information for yourself and content for your own people, but it's really elevating yourself above and beyond what everyone else is doing.
Sure.
We've also learned that the customer marketing approach is hugely impactful, and focusing on customers. It's not just, okay, so yeah, sure, you've reached the sale, but what happens after that?
Right.
And really feeding them, continuing that learning process. They're growing. You want to grow with them. You want to show them the love, give them the tools that they need to be successful on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. No, I think that's really good advice, because I think a lot of startups, once they close an account, they almost forget about it, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah, or they just on to the next one, or they're just trying to reach a revenue goal. And it's really important to have that customer base, and obviously your churn number is huge number in startups, and specifically SaaS-based companies as well. And it's something that's really, really hard to manage. And it's important that you have a team that's focused on your customers and show them the love.
Totally. So you kind of mentioned innovative ways. And I agree with you 100% that people basically cherry pick the content they want. Mm-hmm. So how do you come up with these innovative ideas before they're a client, and then kind of after they're a client, to kind of keep them engaged and still using the piece of software?
I think SalesLoft has definitely had a fair share of innovative marketing ideas that we've brought to market. And we like to push the envelope a little bit, get a little risky in our marketing, which I absolutely love that. And I think Guerrilla marketing is a great approach for startups if done well and tastefully and aligned with your brand and your core values. We did something very early on in Dreamforce, which is the Salesforce biggest conference of the year, and we went out there, very limited budget, and we knew we had to stand up beyond peppermints and pens on the trade show floor. So we took the approach and we impersonated Mark Benioff. And we went around the trade show and 100,000 people and pulled this off. There's a great blog about it online, and people are still talking about that almost 2 years later. Now, can I tie a revenue number to that? No. Just like many marketing initiatives and innovative, creative ways. But for the brand, that was definitely a win early on when people didn't know who we were, and we had a 2 foot by 2 foot booth on the biggest conference in the world for our industry. And the year after that, we ran a presidential fake campaign. Interesting. And launched that. And it's just trying different and new approaches, being creative in our videos. Storytelling is huge. I think for people, you remember stories rather than you remember a bulleted list of information.
Got you. So I'm curious then, obviously creating good content and coming up with these ideas takes time. Do you usually say that sometimes these ideas take a couple hours? Can they take a couple days, kind of a couple weeks? Like, I get that it's kind of such a generic question that depending on the campaign, it can take any one of those. But do you guys kind of say, traditionally, it's going to take at least a day to come up with a really good campaign that we're going to, write a blog post on or do a video, or is it just kind of subjective?
I don't think there's one way to answer that. We have Kevin O'Malley, our VP of Demand Generation, and he is a huge believer in agile methodology. So our team runs on a Scrum approach to marketing. We're very agile. The team can switch directions in a moment's notice. And I don't believe we've ever sat down in a room, shut the door and said, okay, now think of something innovative. It just doesn't work like that. It sounds great on, on the movies and TV. It looks like that's what you're going to do. But we will often have brainstorming sessions, or we'll come up with something, just get the energy flowing, the juices flowing. We always have music on in the office. We are pretty creative in that we are very collaborative in listening to each other's ideas, and we feed off of each other. And I think that's really important, where everyone has a seat at the table. Everyone has the opportunity to share what they are doing, what they think might be an innovative approach. And we listen to that. I think a lot of people are very closed off to others' ideas.
So when you say everybody has a seat at the table, do you mean you bring in people outside of the marketing department into these brainstorming meetings?
Now and then we will. Now and then we'd bring in someone from the product side or from sales, depending who we're targeting. But Carl is very actively involved in marketing. He has a great influence and shares a lot of his ideas, what he sees. He travels to so many different great SaaS events, speaks to technology leaders across the world, and really comes back with what he's seen. He has a great eye for marketing, what we can improve on, where we need to be pushing the needle a little bit more as well.
No, that's really good. And I think it's nice that you have like a leader that, because everything kind of starts at the top and then kind of works its way down, right? And somebody like Kyle sets that kind of culture and allows you guys to do kind of what you guys do, and allows you to have these kind of different approaches to marketing, right? Like there's potentially not a lot of companies that would say like, let's run a fake presidential campaign at a conference. Right? But having somebody that says like, we're willing to take this risk. We're sure it's going to pay off, but you're never like 100%
You never know, Mark.
Right?
That's what there's a lot of gray area in marketing, is tying a revenue number exactly to every campaign. There is an element of, let's write this off for branding, or this is oh shit, this isn't going to work.
No, that's awesome. I think that's great, but we're kind of running out of time. So maybe kind of in closing, if you want to quickly sum up exactly again kind of what SalesLoft does, and then just kind of promote where people can find you guys online.
Absolutely.
And yourself, if you want to promote any personal links.
Personal things, promote personal things. That's great.
Well, just like your Twitter account or whatever. Well, no, if you want like a personal Twitter account or whatever.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me today, Kevin. It has been a pleasure sharing a little bit about my background, SalesLoft, what we do. You can find us online at salesloft.com. I'd love for you to check out our blog. We spoke a lot about content, and I think for early stage startups all the way to SMB and enterprise, you can find a wealth of information that can really elevate your sales organization. That is salesloft.com/blog.
Awesome.
And you can find us on Twitter as well at SalesLoft. I am personally you can personally reach me. You can reach me on Twitter at local@last. That's LOCALAST. No, that's not that. You can find me on Twitter at local@last.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time in your day to do this, and I'm excited to kind of follow where you guys go this year and beyond.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks again. Okay, bye.
Ciao. Peace out, homies.
Thanks for listening. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check them out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.